Prove I broke my arm? Sure. Bit of a warning for the queasy, descriptions gets a little graphic. The background is kinda long, but it's important to the story to understand how ridiculous this nurse was being, and how clumsy I am. Background: way back in the magical year of 2000, I was a teenager attending a summer camp. Usually, it was day only. Tons of outdoor activities: canoeing, hiking, swimming, archery, the works.
I did not break my arm doing any of these.
For the older 2 years of kids, they would host an overnight intense once a month. I was 13 and finally allowed to go and very excited. Got my tent, sleeping bag, and friends. The night went as you would expect when there's 20 13-year-olds intense with the adults nearby. We tried to pull as many stupid stunts as we could get away with. I got dared to stand on a picnic table and dance. 13-year-olds aren't very creative. So, I got up there and did. In the dark. While it was raining. I did not break my arm dancing on a wet table in near darkness. When we'd all had a good laugh, I went to step down, using the bench, and missed. My leg plunged down in the gap between the bench and the table. I went down and forward, hit the bench on my way, pivoted around it really fast, and landed on my outstretched hands. There was an audible snap. My left forearm, bearing my full weight and sudden deceleration, snapped in half. Didn't even break the skin. I remember rolling over, seeing my arm with suddenly 2 elbows, panicking and pushing it back into place. Not perfectly, obviously. It was broken. But it was no longer at a 90-degree angle. That's when it started hurting. A lot. The ambulance took forever to get to us as they kept missing the turn-off for the campsite. I found out later they drove past it for most of that time. Eventually it arrives, I'm loaded in, and it's off to the hospital. When we finally arrive, it's been about an hour since I broke my arm. I've been in intense pain the whole time, and the EMTs hadn't given me anything for it. I don't remember why. The whole ride is very fuzzy. Here's where the malicious compliance comes in. I get brought into the main desk/triage area. This hag of a woman with permanent resting witch face starts asking me questions while the EMTs are standing by with me after telling her what they knew. It's a bit fuzzy, but the gist was this: "Nurse, so, what happened?" "Me, I fell and broke my arm. It really hurts. The EMTs said you could give me something while I wait." Nurse rolls eyes and makes a tut-tut noise. "Nurse, we have to get your arm x-rayed first to make sure it's really broken. We can't give you anything until we're sure. Now go take a seat." "Me, I'm sure. It broke in half." Nurse, smirking, "Really? You broke it in half? Prove it." "I swear, I get kids like you all the time looking for drugs." Now, I am beyond pissed. I've been in agony for over an hour, and this woman is treating me like absolute garbage. Even if it were just a sprain, shouldn't that warrant some kind of pain management? I'm holding my arm, think for a second, and decide, duck it. As the EMTs are about to interject, I raise my left arm, grab the far end of my forearm with my right hand, and push. It bends. Very, very far. Her face drains of all color and she looks like she's going to be sick. She immediately gets on the phone. I'm now in 10 times the amount of pain, but I'm grinning as only a shit-disturbing teen can. It took them less than 5 minutes to put me in a room, pump me full of morphine, set my arm in a temporary wrap. They then x-ray me and schedule the surgery. I had a plate and 5 screws put in, along with a full cast that I kept on for about 6 weeks. They took the plate and pins out 6 months later. It was very painful and annoying, but other than a gnarly scar, my arm is totally fine. Thinking back on it 20 years later, still worth it. TLDR, broke my forearm in half, but still intact. Nurse didn't believe me, so I bent it 90 degrees in front of her. She believed me. Remembering 20 years ago is hard. I don't know that it was exactly 90 degrees, unfortunately I left my protractor in my other pants. But it did look like a second elbow. That was freaky enough. Q. What about nerve/circulation damage? A. I was really lucky. The doctor told me, after I came out of the surgery anesthetic, that it was a good thing I pushed it back when I first broke it. The position it was originally in was cutting off circulation and I probably would have lost the arm. That's what he told me, anyway. Q. How did you push your arm like that through all that pain? A. I was in so much pain I was quite literally delirious. It was a snap decision and really not smart, but I'm also proud of 13-year-old me. He was badass. I don't think I could do that now. Q. The EMTs didn't do anything wrong, etc. A. No, they were really nice from what I remember. Q. Where was this? A. Southern Ontario, Canada. Q. Where were your parents? A. It was about 3 a.m. at this point. The camp had been trying to call my dad the whole time, but he slept through it for quite a while. One of the camp counselors rode with me in the ambulance. Apparently, he was more shaken up by the whole thing than I was. He didn't come back for a few weeks. My dad eventually picked up, rushed over immediately, and felt really bad. I was already under by this point, but I woke up to him in my room. He's a good dad. Q. This didn't happen. A. It did. Sorry if you don't believe me, but that's okay.
Now to the comments. That is hilarious and so awful. I winced. Great story OP, glad you healed well, and maybe taught that cranky nurse a lesson.
I read the second half of the story with one eye closed and only noticed once I finished reading.
I realized I was holding my breath for about 20 seconds. I think I started at duck it. It's when you reach that level of agonized pain where your judgment is ever so slightly impaired and you know it's going to hurt, but just proving somebody obnoxious hilariously wrong makes it worth it somehow. I get you, OP.
I was once in really bad pain and they didn't believe me and I was stuck in the emergency room and they said it was going to be another 2 hours and I looked at her and I just vomited, and you know what? I became a duck in priority then. I hate vomiting, but sometimes you just gotta let it all out.
So, did it end up taking another 2 hours after that? My hubby cut the end of his finger off and the triage nurse insisted she had to see it first, so he took off the towel and squirted blood on her window.
That's something my husband would do too. Hope he's doing better.
I had a similar situation in the 7th grade where I fell on my arm in gym class and my arm broke in a similar way. The school nurse didn't believe me and was about to send me back to class with a note when she got distracted by some other kid who came in with a migraine. By the time she got back to writing that note, my arm had swollen to like twice its size. It was only then she decided to call my parents.
I hate school nurses who play doctor. You're there to take care of the students' health and safety, not make some bullshit judgment call on whether kids are lying. Treat every situation as real, and if they are faking it won't take much time to figure it out. It's not like they have much else to do.
My high school nurses liked to not give out anything but mints. It was a running joke in the school. Stomachache. Mint. Sprain. Mint. Cracked your skull open? 2 mints and a call home.